Good evening, everybody. We will start our today's presentation session. Who have scheduled their presentation for today, please raise your hand. We will by order of raised hands. So we will start with Roy. Roy, you can start your presentation.
So am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Yes, I'll just start my screen sharing again.
Sure.
Shall I start, sir?
Yes.
Yes, a very good evening to everyone present here. And this is Byleen Janet Roy. I'm doing my Hack Weather cybersecurity presentation. And this is an internship in which I got the task of doing, and my task is listed out here. Just wait a minute. I'll just mute my. Okay, fine. Yeah. The task given to me is understanding the operating system security and developing presentation materials. Yeah, you have to develop a presentation material based on the operation system security. Now, before going into this, let me just explain about the agenda of this presentation. And I'll just start with a hook story for you all to understand this in a very easy manner. Yeah. And this is the agenda for the presentation. First, we'll be seeing about the importance of the operation system security, and then we'll be seeing about the user authentication, then authentication methods, the practices and pitfalls, and the permission and the ACLs. I'll let you know what about ACLs and the file permissions, encryption and hashing, and the demonstration setup. Yeah. And to explain about the operation system security, I'll just start with a very simple story, and we'll go into this. First of all, we all know we are living in Earth. And what if there are some aliens? The aliens may invade the Earth and they may steal things or they may distract something and so on and so on. To protect them, I'll just go with a fantasy type. I'm just telling this as a fantasy type. How, what source can help us from aliens? Let us assume that we have Hero there. Okay. Now, we have to assume the Earth as the operating system and aliens as the hackers and Hero as the one which protects us from the things. That is, operation system security is the one who is known as a Hero. Now, you may ask me, why should we have to protect the operating system? What is the need of it? By seeing this slide, you can know that Earth have resources, right? We have water, land, people, and so on and so on, which may be useful for the invaders to steal, or maybe it is useful for them to take away from us, right? In such a way, the hackers may penetrate into a system, that is the operating system is a layer which will be penetrated by the hackers and the data will be stolen by them. Yeah, that is how this hook story can explain the things by relating to this. And yes, the first topic we'll be saying is user authentication. What is generally the user authentication? Why should we have it? First of all, we all know what is meant by an operating system, right? An operating system is nothing but a medium used to interact with the hardware. There are many types of operating systems, such as Windows, maybe Mac, or maybe Linux, and so on and so on, for which you have to have an authentication by the user. Let me be the user for my own system, and I'll be having the authentication so that I can access the file which is placed into my system. In such a way, you can use the authentication to access the system site. And as I mentioned in the presentation, it is the fundamental aspect of the operating system security. And it is used for granting the access to a system or maybe a network. The system may get connected to the network so that it is also granting access for the network too. And user authentication, being the first layer of the OS security, that is operating system security, it just safeguards the sensitive data which lies into the system, and it prevents unauthorized access. That is, people who doesn't know the password and so on will not be able to access our system, right? Not be, let me say that only me and my brother knows the password. So except me and my brother, no one will be able to access my computer without knowing the password, right? And let me go into the verification of the user identity. How the verification could be done? Typically by the username and password. That's how we log in into our social media accounts, right? We'll be just giving our username and we'll be having our own password so that we can we can log in into our own social media account too. And the system compares the provided credentials with the stored information to authenticate the user. First, we will be signing up to some page. First, we will be registering to it by using the username and password. Let us relate it with Instagram, what we use. First, we will be creating a username and we will be giving a password. Then we will be giving confirm password. so that we will be storing that password into the database. The database is nothing but the place where the entire data is stored for the Instagram server, right? And the people, the user who wants to log in again to the profile will be just logging in by giving the username and password, which will be checked at the backend. The backend is nothing but the database. If it is true, he'll be able to log in into it. And yes, this is what I mentioned as words now. The user who will be logging in into the maybe a social media page or maybe something, it has a user credentials, name like username and password. It will be checking into the database, and in turn, if it returns true, the true is nothing but the condition is correct. That both parameters in the sense the username and the password which were given were absolutely correct. So that if it is correct, we can log in. We can log in and we can proceed into the further things, right? If it is false, we'll be getting an error prompt that you have to enter a correct username or you have to check your password again and so on. That is how the user identity is verified. And to ensure the secure access, secure access is vital to prevent malicious actor from gaining unauthorized entry. Yes, it is. We have to give security access so that no third persons in the sense the person who doesn't have the access will be able to authorize or maybe have the access to enter into our system. One such access giving security policy is multi-factor authentication. I'll just let you all know about the multi-factor authentication just by showing the example. And multi-factor authentication is nothing but we'll be having multiple forms of verification. It's just nothing but we'll not be having only a single layer, maybe a 2 or maybe 3 layers for us to enter into it, and we can check into it and we can proceed into it. And this is the example for the multi-factor authentication. This is a two-factor authentication maybe, because once we enter into the profile by giving the username and password, we'll be getting an OTP. OTP is nothing but the one-time password. We all know because we all use the Instagram nowadays, which uses this type of security layer, which by which we'll be getting a secret code only for us, which should not be shared with anyone, and we'll be entering it so that we'll be logged into it, right? That is how the multi-factor authentication works. And the authentication methods. The authentication methods can be given based on the password, or maybe given by the biometric authentication or a fingerprint face recognition, which is whole together known as the biometric, right? And two-factor authentication. As I said earlier in the previous slide, two-factor authentication is also an authentication method, and something you know and something you have. I'll let you know about the something you know and something you have in the further sites. And password. Password is the combination of characters known only to them to gain access. Who can gain access? Who can have the password? Of course, users. That is why I used an arrow mark to pinpoint who has it. The user will be creating the password. The user will be knowing the password. The user will be using the password to access the data which lies behind the system, right? And this is one such example. This shows us how a password should be. We'll be having certain criteria for us to create a strong password. Nowadays, today's websites just insist us to create a strong password, else you can't be creating a password right away. And the password must have at least one letter, at least one capital letter, at least one number, not contain multiple identical consecutive characters, and not be the same across the name, like the name, and be at least 8 characters, not be common password, not be used in the past year. If we go deeper by thinking into it, if we give a password which suits all these characters, for of course it is a perfect password which could not be broken into by any hackers and so on. Because for the method of brute force is nothing but the trial and error. Like how we used to do the math in a small in our childhood, right? We'll be doing it again and again till we get the correct answer. That is how the brute force works too. The combination of all the alphabets together, or maybe the letters. Let us take letters as six digit passcode as an example, and the multiple combinations of the numbers will be done again and again and again. That is, the permutation and combination will be taken. In one such case, the number will be equal to the password, so that it can be cracked into it. Imagine what we have here. We have a small letter, we have a capital letter, we have a number, we have many special characters, and we have the password which is not used in the past year or not a common password. So it is very difficult for the hacker to brute force it. Brute force is nothing but trial and error. Yeah. And biometric. Biometric is nothing but the physical and behavioral characteristic unique to each other individual. Like, I have my own fingerprint. No one else in this world will have the same fingerprint like how I have mine. And this is what is based on something you are. That is, I have my own fingerprint, I have my own face recognition, I have my own iris scanner, and so on and so on. That is, only I have those. That is why it is quoted as something you have. What if, is there any possibilities for others to have the same things which you have, like fingerprint, maybe iris? No, it is not. Only you have that in this entire world. That is why it is known as something you have. And biometric authentication is widely used around top companies for ensuring their securities too. We have the biometric even in our cell phones too, which uses the fingerprint. That is the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, which is very most famous in many mobile devices nowadays. And these are some common types of biometric authentication. It includes the facial recognition, voice recognition, fingerprint recognition, iris scanner, and handwriting recognition. The handwriting recognition may be trained by using the ML algorithms. Everything uses the ML algorithms. That is the machine learning algorithm for sure. And these are the some types of biometric authentication which is used to lay a security layer over your computer, that is over your operating system, so that only you will be having the access to take control over your data and so on. And 2FA. 2FA is nothing but the same, which I mentioned at the previous slide. The previous slide, I just told about the multi-factor authentication. Now I'm just simplifying it as a two-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication will have many layers of security. In case two-factor authentication will have an extra layer of security to the layer where you enter your username and password. The username and password entering is the layer 1. And the second layer is receiving the OTP, which is the two-factor authentication method. And this is the one which is known as something you know plus something you have. Because something you know includes the password you know, and something you have includes the OTP which you receive from the server side. That is the page you are trying to log in, right? So that it becomes an excellent strategy. It becomes an excellent strategy for the people to log in into the system, so that you can log in into the system using the special security method known as the two-factor authentication. Practices and pitfall. Maybe you should know how we should have a better password. Why should we have these? There is a common reason, like how I told in the previous slides, right? The brute forcing method. I'll just explain you in a better way about the brute forcing by going into this slide. Using strong passwords, regularly updating the passwords, avoiding common mistakes, pitfalls of over reliance of a single method. Now, what are all the mistakes we make? Let us go into it. Avoid reusing passwords across multiple accounts. For example, if I have the Instagram, maybe Facebook, or maybe Snapchat, or maybe Gmail, and so on and so on. What if I use the same password for all these accounts? For sure, if the hacker hacks a single account of mine, of course, he'll be taking over every other account of mine without any difficult challenges and so on. It will be easy peasy task for the hacker to take all my social media accounts, right? So it is a common mistake which is done. Avoid reusing the passwords across the multiple accounts. And don't save passwords in plain text or easily accessible places. For sure, this is done by everyone today. Nowadays, we are using the browsers, right? It has an option of saving the password with the domain name. Domain is nothing but the web page's name, right? We will be lazy to enter the password again and again. So what we'll be doing is we'll be saving the password into it, and we'll be using the easy access. That is one click, so that we'll be clicking one click so that the password will be entered automatically by the browser itself. What is the drawback in that? You may see it as an advantage, but for sure it is an advantage until the system is in your hands. What if you are giving your computer to someone for repairing the system? You should give your password to them too. For example, if it is a software issue, you have to give your computer with your password so that he can access into your system to know what is the issue of the software. Let me tell you how we can get his hands over the password section of the browser. Having the password is very much important, so that the person who gets into the browser and in settings, he can see the password section, so that if he goes into it, it will ask the password first, so that if he enters the password, he can see the entire password list which you have saved. So Never ever save password in a plain text or easily accessible places. Of course, browser is an easily accessible place too, and anyone who has malicious intent will search into it too. Be cautious of sharing passwords with others. For sure, this is a correct one too, because nowadays we being lazy, we are just tend to be lazy and will not be doing the things on our own. We'll be sharing our username and password maybe with our friends, maybe not with our third person, but with our friends. It may get used by him at a day or at a time if he wants to take us a revenge and so on and so on. That's how, yes, this is what the thing happens in today's society too. We are being less cautious about sharing our passwords with others, and at the end we'll be losing our every social media accounts, or maybe thing which gets worse than how we expected to. Steering clear of these common pitfalls strengthens your overall security posture. Of course, yes, by saying all the above three steps, we can have a better security posture too. What are the pitfalls? Let me explain about the pitfalls. Pitfalls of over reliance on a single method. Relying solely on the single authentication method like a password can lead to vulnerabilities. What is the reason for single authentication method can lead to vulnerability? Yes, of course, yes. What if I don't have a security policy like two-factor authentication implemented to my Instagram account? I rely only on my password. What if the person can just try my password, just use my password, just by thinking, just by giving a thinking about the password and giving a try over it? And what if the password is correct? He'll be directly logged into my Instagram account, right? What if I have a two-factor authentication so that I'll be notified that someone is trying to log in into my Instagram account, and I can take the precautionary measures like changing the password and so on. If the single method is compromised, attackers can gain easy access. That is what I told you now. What if the single method is given and it is compromised? It is just broken down. The attackers can easily access your social media account, or maybe anything. It might be your computer, your social media account, anything it might be. It has the data which is very crucial to you. The personal data may be important for the hacker so that he can manipulate you in different way too. And permissions and ACL, managing access right and privileges. And this ACL is nothing but an access control. What is meant by access control? You may ask, but the access control is really simple to be understand. But the one who is being the administrator can give the access to the people so that he can let know the others that what access he had. It might be the read access, it might be the write access. We all would have used Google Docs or Google Sheets, right? It is given by Google itself. It has the option of sharing the document with others. What will we do? What we'll be doing? We'll just share only with the privilege of viewer or maybe the editor and so on. That is how the ACL works here. Access rights and privileges define what action users can perform on a system. They ensure that the only authorized users can access, modify, or interact with the resources. Like I said now, if you are sharing your document with write access, he can modify your document as well. He can read your document. What if you are sharing your document with only view access, that is read access? He can only read the document but not do any modification over the document. Proper management of these rights is crucial for maintaining security and data integrity. Yes, exactly. It is because it is very much important to have a clear control over the access provided to the users, so that the proper thing can be the proper security as well as the integrity could be maintained over the system. And control over the files, folders, and resources. This is what I was meaning as the read, write, and execute. Because those are the three actions which could be performed over a file, right? What if you are having a notepad text file? What you will be doing? If you have contents into it, we'll be just reading it, or we'll be writing something into it, that is the modifying, or maybe execute if it has some kind of programmatic files into it, or modification, right? And these all could be done over the control over files, folders, and resources. And this is the screenshot of my PC, that is my system, that is giving access of some folder, how to give access to other users as being the administrator. And you can see here, I have just went into the properties of the folder named data, and into which I have the column known as the security, and I can see the permissions listed out here, like full control, modify, read and execute, list folder contents, read and write. If I give tick for all these and give okay, of course, the user to whom I'm giving these access will be updated with all these access. So he can also do all these things which I provided with, being the administrator. And I can also revoke the access given to them. That is, if I give the modify access first, I can also revoke the modify access from the same user. That is being the user not to modify the resources and sources and so on. And importance. What is the importance of the proper permission management? It is just to prevent the data breach. The data breach is nothing but breaking into a database. That is stealing the data, maybe, or maybe monitoring the data, which is done by a third person for to check how the things are going on, so that he'll be spying over the data and so on, and to avoid unauthorized changes. Of course, who will like the unauthorized changes? If I'm having this, let me take this presentation itself. I'm just presenting this presentation as done previously by me. What if someone just logged into my account and made some changes over this presentation, so that while presenting, I just noticed some changes over the presentation, which made me to feel somewhat uneasy manner. That's how the unauthorized changes work at sometimes. And maintaining the data integrity. Yes, data integrity is very essential for us to have a very protected data, which can't be authorized by, which can't be accessed by any other users except the people who have the authorization. And preventing the data breaches. How the data breach could be prevented? It is just explained in this slide. Proper permission management restricts unauthorized access to sensitive data. Of course, it is what included by the ACL, that is the access control layer. It just lets you all to have a permanent, that's not maybe a permanent, but a fixed access, like read or maybe execute or maybe modify, which is given by the admin himself, so that no other unauthorized access will be done to the data. It will be the data which resides in the system may be sensitive one. It might be your personal information, or maybe confidential information for your company and so on. Anyways, the data is very important. It should not be stolen by any other hackers or any third party members. So it should have a good authorization over the access, so that it can be protected by the people. Avoid unauthorized changes. Yes, of course. Permissions ensure that only authorized individuals can modify files and folders and resources. Yes, because it is just given by the admin himself, so that the people can, the people who have the access can modify the files and folders and resources which present into the system, and it can be done according to the access given by the admin. Without proper permission, unauthorized changes or deletions can occur. Yes, if the permission given with no proper intention, or maybe unwillingly, if the admin gives as an accident, as a permission to everyone, as we can modify the data and so on, the one being virus at the virus of the company may delete some data by a mistake, or may be intentionally. It happens in a company too. And exactly, it prevents the accidental or intentional tampering with critical files too. And now we go to the encryption and hashing. What is meant by encryption and what is hashing? It is very simple. It is used for ensuring the data security. The encryption and hashing techniques are nothing. I'll just explain to you about it in the further slides. The encryption. First of all, we all be using WhatsApp, right? We'll be seeing one message over the top, that is end-to-end encrypted. It is just nothing but we can send the data which can be understood by myself, that is me being the source, and the destination person, who both will be understanding what the message is. At the in-between network, the data will be encrypted. That is, it will be into an unreadable format, which is just a protective one. That is, if I have a letter APPLE, it will be transmitted to the receiver as APPLE. But in the intermediate phase, that is during the network phase, then there will be a process of encryption in which the data will be encrypted by using the ciphertext and so on. Ciphertext is nothing but an encrypted text. That is, it is just use some algorithms to protect itself from being read by any other users. And yes, this is what happens during encryption. And some of the algorithms are AES, Advanced Encryption Standard, and RSA, Reversed Shamir Edelman. And these are nothing but some kind of the encryption algorithms that are used for the protection of the data while the transmission of it, or maybe encrypting the data which is present into the system too. These are basically divided based upon the symmetrical and asymmetrical encryption. Symmetrical encryption is nothing but a public key used for both encryption as well as decryption. Encryption is nothing but making the data to get protected, and decryption is the vice versa of the process of encryption. That is a ciphertext. That is, the protected text will be formed into the regular text, which is known as a decryption, for which a same key will be used, which is known as a symmetric encryption. Then what is asymmetric encryption? It uses a different key for the sender and different key for the receiver for encryption. That's it. And encrypted data can only be decoded with the correct decryption key. Yes, I use the word decryption key here, right? Of course, the receiver will be having a decryption algorithm, so that the message received will be going into the decryption algorithm, so that the cipher text, that is the protected text, will be just changed into the regular text by using a key. That's it. And this is just a basic example of the encryption and decryption. First, we have the plain text here, which is encrypted by using the encryption key, and it just changed it into a ciphertext, which may have numbers or maybe an alphabetical order, maybe a mixture of those and so on. And then it is just decrypted when it reaches the destination side by using the decryption key. That is how the process of encryption and decryption works. And I have given an example here, right? APPLE and BQQMF and APPLE. You want to know what type of algorithm I used here? This is not an algorithm, but just thinking logically. I have used A here. The next letter of A is B. I used P here. The next letter of P is Q. And the same goes for this P2 and L, and the next letter is M, and E, the next letter is F. That is how I made the word apple, which is a plain text, to the BQQMF, which is a ciphertext, which is unreadable, right? If you straightly see into the letter BQQMF, you will not understand anything. But if you see through the apple, you can understand that it is an apple. That is how the plain text and ciphertext work. I hope you can understand the difference between the plain text and the ciphertext. And later on, by using the decryption key, that is, it's just a key used for turning the ciphertext into a plain text. So the BQQMF is again turned out into APPLE, which is again the vice versa of the encryption. And hashing. Hashing is nothing but we just use the encryption algorithm to make a plain text into a ciphertext. Ciphertext is nothing but a protected form of letters and so on. But here what we do is it converts the data into a fixed size string of characters. We'll be using a function known as a hash function, which will be used for changing the data, that is converting the data, which may be a number or a string or so on. String is nothing but a set of alphabets. It will be changed to the fixed size string of characters, which is known as the hash value, right? And some of the algorithms are SHA-256 and MD5, which are common algorithms used for hashing. And hashing is primarily used for data verification and integrity check. It is what it is basically used for. This is an example for hashing. Now, let me have some input type of any data type. It may be a banana, that is deterministic. One tiny change in the input will completely change the output. That is known as the deterministic. And pseudo-random. The hash can't tell you anything about the data which you produced. That is how the hash will be encrypted. Now, we'll be using the hashing algorithm to change the regular data into a hashing result. It will just have the string of letters, so that it will be used for fetching the data again, so that it can't be done by using the vice versa of it, right? So that's how the hashing works too. And begin with the hashing, you can see the hashing result, right? It can just begin with one or more zeros. It is not matter that we have 00097N5 and so on and so on. That's how the hashing algorithm works. And what is the benefit of encryption? The benefit of encryption is very crucial in cybersecurity domain, because it just maintains the confidentiality of the data. How the confidentiality of the data is maintained? As I said earlier, the perfect example to understand this is WhatsApp, which mentions us about the end-to-end encrypted at the top when we are about to text a new person, right? That is, only myself and the receiver can read what the text is, but no one else in the middle, like a hacker or someone like who is trying to penetrate into the network and try to see the data which is sent by me to the receiver. He'll be just getting the ciphertext, for which he'll be having the process to decipher it, which is tedious, right? We can't let him know what algorithm we used, so that it will be difficult for him to decipher it. And I have just mentioned about the RSA and AES algorithm over here, and how the RSA and AES works. Basically, RSA is an encryption method which uses the public and private key. I said earlier about the public key and private key, which is used in that is asymmetric encryption, where we have the sender will be having the plain data, that is plain text data, which will be using the public key for changing itself into the cipher text, and then the private key for turning into the deciphered plain text. Deciphered plain text and plain text are same, and it will be received by the recipient. That is how the common RSA algorithm works. And this is the AES algorithm. AES is nothing but will be having the same key. So it is known as the symmetric encryption algorithm, where we'll be having the plain text again. It will be changed into the cipher text by using the a public key maybe, and the cipher text will be transmitted to the receiver end, and he'll be using the same key over it to decipher it, and the receiver will be receiving. We'll be having the same key to unlock the lock. That's it. And the major difference between the encryption and hashing is this. First, you'll be having the plain text, and it will be encrypted to get the encrypted text, and decryption will be taken place. And the hashing will be using a hash function. It has a definite set of function through which we'll be getting the hashed text. So here we are using a hashed function, where above we are using the keys to encrypt and decrypt. That's it. And it is unreversible. It is not reversible. The hashing is not reversible. If you hash a text, it can't be again rehashed into a plain text, while encryption could be done and decryption again could be done. And this is the summary for the presentation which I did just now. We saw about the user authentication, the authentication methods, best practice and pitfalls, permissions and ACLs, encryption and hashing, and visual enhancement and delivery. And this is my contact details. For any, if you have any doubts regarding the slides which I shown you, you can just contact me through the mail which I have mentioned in the presentation. And these are the references which I used for creating this presentation. I just referred these websites for these websites, as well as the book, for knowing about these concepts. And I used Operating System Security, a book by Trent Jager, which I just downloaded from the internet, and Geeks for sure, and the free dictionary, JavaPoint, and ChatGPT. ChatGPT helped me the most for going for deep learning about these algorithms and so on. And this is questioning time. Anyone have any questions? If yes, you can ask me now. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Are you done, Roy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Your flow was good. Your presentation was good. I have few questions, and I want to tell you
Yes, sir.
that add pictures
Okay, sir.
to
Okay, sir.
PPT. Okay.
Okay, sir.
You can add many pictures to security reasons,
Yeah, sure, sir. Okay, sir.
and try to keep the story real life. Okay.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I have few questions. Is like you should have a graph
Yes, sir.
the security layers.
Pardon, sir. I don't understand.
Graph like a pyramid.
You mean the security layers which I shown in the presentation, sir?
Yeah, yeah.
One sec, sir.
Because okay, so if I want to know which layer comes first,
Okay, sir.
can you tell me by series?
You are just meaning me about OSI layers, right, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. First, we'll
Without
be
operating
having.
system security.
Okay, sir. I'll just go by the layer from the bottom-up approach. That is, we'll be having the application layer first. Application layer. Then we'll be having the network layer. Then application network data link and network. I'll just come from the top-down approach, sir. If it's not a problem. We'll be having the application network, application layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and the physical layer, which is known as the TCP/IP protocol suite. And for adding the additional, this is the upgraded version of the OSI layers. First of all, the OSI layers have the 7 layers. which just have the presentation and session in between the application and transport layer, sir.
Okay, everything
Yes,
else
sir.
was good. Just try to remember the points I told you, add
Yes,
pictures
sir.
and add realistic stories. Okay.
Yes,
And
sir. Sure.
everything else was good.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And I would like to tell you that if anybody have general questions, we will continue our general question at the end of the session. Okay.
Okay, sir. I'll stop presenting my scenes. Shall
Yes.
I, sir? Yes, sir.
Yes, you can. Next is Ravina. Ravina, you can start your presentation.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Let me present my screen.
You can start.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible.
So, good evening, everyone. I'm Ravina. I'm a BTech student pursuing my third year information technology and also working under web development team of Hackvidas Limited internship program. This is my second presentation, and the task assigned for me is to present a project synopsis on real-time stock market data web application. Let's have a view of agenda. First, introduction and the key features, then diving into the technology stack and see how the application works, and we'll be discussing about the challenges, and we'll take a look into my documentation, and at last we'll be concluding with giving some references. First comes our introduction. So in the fast-paced financial world, to survive, we are asked to have at least one passive income. So stock market is the topmost of passive income generator. So we all have come across the word passive income. So sorry, and also the stock market, which also has the other side, where we are insisted to not to invest or trade because of it is a highly risk job. So to overcome that, we are creating a web application which acts as the technical analyst and which monitors and tracking the market change and gives us the algorithmic trading. So what is the key feature of the website is to have real-time stock market data, of course, with which we can analyze the and differences in the stocks. And next, security and user authentication. Obviously, we are dealing with the users' money. We must be sure that their data and money are secured. So for that, we are using user authentication. Next, easy to understand format. Of course, a website for which we are expecting more end users should have easy to understand format. In our case, it is really important to have because we can't give a raw data to our users barely, because it will be really frustrating. It should be in a graph or chart format in which they can easily analyze the differences. And the responsive design, the website should be accessible in any other devices like laptop, mobile, or a tablet. So on taking a look into the technologies used, front-end, database, back-end, API, and deployment. This gives us that we are using a MERN stack. That is, M stands for MongoDB for database, and E stands for Express.js for the framework, and R stands for the React.js for front-end, and Node.js for backend. We'll be discussing about these technologies one by one. First comes our front end. For front end, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and the React.js. HTML is used for the structure of web application. CSS is responsible for styling, and the JavaScript is used to make the web page dynamic. And React.js is one of the libraries, JavaScript libraries, which is used to UI design, and also have a reusable code by having multiple components. Of course, we have many JavaScript libraries like Angular and Ember.js. We are using React.js. Database is a structured collection of data where we can store data in such a way that we can easily add, delete, manipulate, and retrieve data. In our case, we are using MongoDB, which is known for NoSQL database. Before going into the next point, let me clear why it is used as NoSQL database, the difference between SQL and NoSQL database. So SQL is used for relational database management system, where the NoSQL database is non-relational DBMS. SQL it requires a structured data, where NoSQL uses unstructured. That is, the data can be in a JSON form, document form. In SQL, the SQL database is bound by relationships, and it is static, whereas non-SQL is flexible with dynamic. So of course we need SQL, non-SQL, because we are handling with the real-time data, which should be dynamic. The only disadvantage of NoSQL is it doesn't have any interface. Whereas in SQL, let me say MySQL have an interface called PHP MyAdmin to build complex queries. So back to the advantages of MongoDB, as I mentioned earlier, real-time data. To handle the real-time data, we are using the dynamic MongoDB. Aggregation and analysis. With the data, we can analyze the differences. Cloud compatibility. Of course, MongoDB Atlas gives us the cloud, uses cloud, which will be useful for us to in the deployment part. And the other advantages of like non-functionality advantages: high performance, scalability, and security. While talking about the backend, we are using Node.js and Express.js. Node.js is a server-side scripting, which gives the runtime environment that makes JavaScript to run in any environment. Where Express.js is the framework that makes the Node.js web application flexible. Node.js is an event-driven. That is, it relies on an event loop. It doesn't interrupt the execution of code by waiting for an IO operations. Further, it uses system calls. And high performance, it uses a V8 engine to compile the JavaScript into the machine code. And also the high performance is due to the parallel concurrent process, that it can run multiple processes parallelly. Package ecosystem is NPM, that is Node Package Manager, allows the developer to install and manage and share the libraries between the developers. WebSocket support. So Node.js support WebSockets, and we'll be discussing about the WebSockets in the further in the upcoming slides. So Express.js is for routing, that we can have multiple URL patterns and can customize the routes of destination by this Express.js. And middleware is to request and used in the request and response cycle. Template engine, it doesn't have any built-in template engine. So for that, it should be integrated with a template engine like EJS. Integration, it makes the process of integration easy. It allows the integration of third-party middleware and other modules and libraries. API used. API stands for the Application Programming Interface. It promotes the seamless integration between different software systems, and also access services and data from the other systems. Let me tell an example. Like we are accessing an IRCTC website to book a train ticket, where we are accessing the software and database of the website itself. But while talking about the other websites like Redbus, which is an interface to communicate, which is also in software used to communicate with the other softwares. Like let me tell, I have an ABC Travels and XYZ Travels, so on. So through Redbus, I'm booking ABC Travels bus. So I'm accessing a software through another software. So this can be done by API, which is responsible for the request and response, sending request and receiving the response. So in the real-time data market, stock market application, we are using Alpha Vantage API and News API. Alpha Vantage is used to have historical data and how the data is varied through the time. And the news API is to have latest news and categorized news, and also how the stocks are affected through the other factors, with respect to the other factors. So we have for real-time communication, we have WebSockets and Socket Socket IO. So these are the API. WebSockets it enables two-way communication. Through this diagram, we can come to know what is WebSocket. Once the client sends the request to the server responds to the client. There, the handshake is happening. After the WebSocket connection replaces the handshake by TCP protocol. Then the bidirectional data flow is happening, and the connection can be closed. This is how WebSocket works. It doesn't require HTTP request for each and every request and response. Socket IO is used to enrich the WebSockets. It have two types. One is client side and the server side, written on the top of the WebSockets. So data visualization, we are using chart.js or d3.js, that is data-driven document. Both are JavaScript libraries used for data visualization. We can't give the raw data or numbers as it is fetched from the database to the users, as it must be easily understandable. We have to draw it in display it in a graph or a graph or in a diagrammatic view, which also have tooltips, animations, and event handlings. Of course, the chart should also be in responsive. For deployment, that is to have our website, to make a website available to the users worldwide, we have to deploy our website. We are using AWS, that is Amazon Web Service, for deploying the stock data web application. Because it has compute power, through creating an Amazon EC2 instance, we can create a virtual server with resizable compute power and memory that is required for our website. The content delivery, Amazon CloudFront is used to content delivery, that is like images and videos. Here comes the most important service of AWS, that is Amazon Kinesis Data Analyst. It has data and used to analyze it. Then high availability. AWS provides us with more availability zones, and it should be paid about as of you are using. Then the workflow of the application. Once the user log in, the account should be verified. As I mentioned earlier, security and user authentication is very important. So the account is verified. Once they are logged in, they can select the stocks according to their wish, like they can sell or buy. Once the stock is selected, the data should be processed, and the processed data should be visualized using some chart. Challenges faced is to pull the real-time stock market data and display it in an understandable way is a highly challenging task. And the second one is the user authentication and the protection. So user authentication and the protecting the data, user data. So we'll have a look into the documentation part. So this is the document I created. Real-time stock market data web application overview of the project synopsis. These are the table of contents, that is introduction, objectives, key features, technologies, working of application, challenges, and conclusion. So introduction contains why it is needed, and objective contains how our application makes the process easier. So key features, as I have mentioned, all the things detailed in our presentation, I'm just pinpointing the important points. Like key features includes real-time stock market data, user authentication, easy to understand format, and it should be responsive. Technology is used for front-end HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React.js. For backend, Node.js and Express.js, which is the framework of Node.js. Database, MongoDB, Atlas, and API used or Alpha Vantage API and News API. For data visualization, chart.js or d3.js. Real-time communication comes under WebSockets and socket.oi. For deployment, AWS, that is Amazon Web Service. Working of the application goes in the order of login, account verification, stock selection, data processing, and the process data should be visualized. Challenges faced is, as I mentioned earlier, to pull the real-time stocks and displaying in a easy graph format, and the user authentication to protect the data from the hackers is the two main challenges. And the conclusion, in conclusion, the content of the document, I summarized it like the real-time stock market data web application should be in an easy to understand format, and it is built with the React, Node.js, and MongoDB. Back to the presentation. So conclusion, by having this web application, we can ensure the traders and investors that they can stay competitive in the fast-paced world of finance without any risk. So as we are giving the optimized investment strategies and using algorithms. For references, I mentioned YouTube link, channel names that I have used to understand the concepts of API, real-time communication, that is socket, Node.js and React.js, and for Amazon Web Service, simply learn. Open to question and answer session. Can also contact me through my mail ID for further queries. Thank you.
Are you done, Ravina?
Yes, sir.
There was no practical demo in this, right?
Yes, sir. I'm just asked to present an overview.
Yeah, present.
Sir, I'm just asked to present the synopsis only.
Okay, got it.
With the documentation.
Okay. So my questions are, if this website is ready to run, what will be the error rate? Like it total depends on research, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what will be the success rate and error rate?
So at the single stretch, we can't get the output correctly. By frequent user feedbacks, we can rectify the mistakes.
Okay. Your flow was good. Try to add a little story to the presentation. Okay. So better understanding for the audience. Yeah. Everything else was good. And try to add some pictures in your PPT.
Okay, sir.
Everything else was good.
Thank you.
Next is Kanchana. Kanchana? You can start your presentation. Yes, you are audible, but you are not visible.
Yes, sir. Sir, it's showing that your host has stopped your video.
Yeah, I gave you the permission.
Yes, sir. Am I visible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank
Mm, looks like you are having network issue.
you. Good evening. No, sir, it's fine.
Okay, you can start.
Yes, thank you. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Kanchana Daita. So, the domain of internship I have chosen is embedded systems and IoT, and the task I have asked for is researching air quality monitoring systems. So, what are the objectives of this task? Means, firstly, I have to check what are the components required for these air quality monitoring systems. Also, what are the current types of air quality monitoring systems we are having in today's market? So, let me start with the contents. So the contents of my presentation today are the introduction and a small brief on the air quality monitoring systems, the circuit and block diagrams, what are the key components and their explanations. After that, what are the different types involved in this air quality monitoring system? What are the advantages, disadvantages, applications of this? Finally, conclusion with a future scope. So what is an air quality monitoring system? It is the air quality monitoring system is a system which allows us to measure the value of parameters which are present in the air or atmosphere. So we have to analyze the parameters so that we can finalize what is the condition of some chemicals or some parameters
Sorry to
which are
disturb, but your
present in the air.
presentation is not visible.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me. Is it now visible, sir?
Wait, it's loading. Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks for that. Okay. So firstly, what is an air quality monitoring system? So it is a system which allows us to measure or predict or analyze the evolution of air pollution. So in today's world, air pollution is one of the major concern of everywhere. So that we have to know what are the different chemicals present in the air, what are the gases present in the air, what are the requirements of those gases, and what levels we need to have. If they are having it under it or over it, we need to take certain measures to keep them on their own level. So it is always required at any urban areas, industrial areas, special nature conservation areas, etc. So while generation of the power or while transmission of the power or some oil and gas industries or any power related industries or any manufacturing industries, everywhere air quality monitoring is utmost important. So for that, we need to know what it is and how does it work. Next, how does it work? The air quality monitoring systems will have some equipments to measure. So they may have like sensors or any uh, gases measuring devices. For example, what are the gases it should measure? We all know that hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen are the gases which are present in the air. So they'll measure the parameters such as SO2, SO2, carbon monoxide. What are their values in the current atmosphere at particular area? So they can have some meteorological sensors or noise level sensors or some meters to measure the levels. Next one is these are also complemented with some user information systems because after measuring, users have to know what are those measured values. With that only, we can predict what's the next happening thing. Also, we can detect if there are extra value of gases or any under value of gases. We can only know after by having any display or any intimation to the user. So user information systems are definitely important to get the values of those measured parameters. So next thing is, yeah, air quality monitoring systems can be useful in identifying oxygen deficient or enriched atmospheres. Yes, as I already said, any underrated gases or overrated gases, overly gases in the atmosphere are need to be identified so that only the people around that area or the people who are working there, the machines which are operated in that area need to be protected with the required atmospheric gases, or else it will just it may get flammable or it may release toxic hazards or some disturbances to the people living nearby. So that is utmost important to take care of our health conditions so that we need to check what are the values of parameters. Also, it is dangerous to our life and if we inhale all those enriched gases. So we need to observe that. For that application also, this is really important. And coming to next thing, direct reading instruments are particularly useful for identifying point source communication. Yes. For point source communication, what is point source? Uh, point source contamination. So what is point source contamination? This is at some point of at some point in an area, what is the condition of gases present there? What are those parameters? What are those ratings? Especially, we are working on a machine or some we are working in an industry. So before the work, what are the values of nitrogen, sulfur oxide, carbon monoxide present in that area? After the work also we need to check because that periodic timing or periodic monitoring is really helpful before and after doing some activities. Also by performing some screening surveys to determine what area is having what kind of temperature also. We need to evaluate that also for our own protection. So what is the circuit required for that? We need an Arduino UNO R3. This is the circuit. In the next slide, we'll observe the detailed construction of this UNO. So firstly, let me explain you connection. What are the main components? So the main components are Arduino UNO R3. Also, as I said before, we need some sensors like MQ135 gas sensor, PMS 5003 sensor, and DME sensor. So what are these sensors are for? We'll see in the next one. Also, we can have a small look at this block diagram, which we already said that Arduino board is important. Like it's a microcontroller. To it is the main part of the circuit. It helps to receive all the connections from sensors and also the user information system. And inside that, the operation performance will be done so that we can have the output display on LCD display or data logger, etc. And we obviously know what are the sensors required. If we want carbon monoxide, we can add carbon monoxide sensor. Similarly, we know if we want any particulate matter, how much of matter, particulate matter, and what are the components inside it. If we want to that, we need to add particulate sensor. And if we want to know about dust and smoke particles sensor, we need to add smoke sensor. So these are the components which are required to build a circuit. This is a small block diagram for that. Yeah, this is detailed view of an Arduino. So in this we have A0 to A7 pins, similarly D0 to D13 pins, also ground pin, reset pin, which is input pin, etc. So these are the pins required to connect the output user information systems, also the input sensor. So firstly, obviously we know the 5 volts VCC supply will be provided to the Arduino UNO. Also, the ground pin should be connected to the ground terminals of all the sensors and output systems we use. Also, uh, the pin 8 of Arduino can be used as a buzzer so that if the condition is like we all know in the Boolean system that we only have either true or false results. So for if the condition is true, the pin 8 will give a beep sound which results that the condition we are performing is true. So for checking and for comparison analysis, this can be used. Next, these are the components such as Raspberry Pi, PM2.5 sensor, MQ135 sensor, and DME sensor. So firstly, let me start with Raspberry Pi. This is simply like a mini computer. We can have a PC applications with all the PC applications is just with this Raspberry Pi. Like it will be in the size of an ATM debit card or credit card, but the operations inside it were having a large variety of applications also. It can monitor the system. It can like it can be used as a television or a mouse. It has all the operations in it. Also, it comes with a different sizes of memory like 2 GB, 4 GB, and 8 GB. It can have USB power supply, C power supply, and it's also have 2x4 displays. So these are the USBs connected to it. It has a processor inbuilt inside it so that we can have PC applications by using of this Raspberry Pi. Next is air quality sensor. This is PM 2.4. This is the PMS 5003 2.4 air quality sensor. See, we have, as I said, we have a lot of particles, contaminants inside the air. So we need to measure all of them, uh, irrespective of the particles present in the air. We need to take care of our equipment, also on personal health. So to measure all of them, these kind of sensor is required. Also, we have UV rays coming from the sunlight. Also, the scattering laser light also observed from this UV, PM 2.4 air quality sensor. It helps to sensor, it helps to sense the scattering light particles inside the air. Also, it captures those laser lights and it estimates the amount of suspended particles in the air per unit volume. So, per unit volume of the space in the air, in an area, any area we can take, what is the suspended light particles per unit volume that can be given by this PM S5003 sensor. Next is MQ135 sensor. What is MQ135 sensor? See, we also have seen in the block diagram that we need to have a gas sensor for sure because many gases are present in the air like ammonia, alcohol, benzene, or we can take nitrogen, etc. So to measure all of those, we need to have a gas sensor. Like such sensor which detects the gas sensor is MQ135. This is responsible for detecting gases such as ammonia, alcohol, benzene, smoke, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, etc. So it contains basic electronics which actually this sensor is able to get interface with the microcontroller so that whatever the gases it senses, it can just give to the microcontroller display. Also, we can have analog and digital inputs, digital outputs in this. So accordingly, we can connect to the outputs we need. If we have LCD display, we can connect the output display for that. Or else if we have any analog display, we can connect to the analog output. And the BME 280 temperature and humidity, and also the pressure sensor. This is designed by the Bosch company firstly, and it is an atmospheric pressure sensor. The element itself is made up of many elements such as assembly resistors, capacitors, etc. This is also known as BME 280. Actually, this BME 280 is a chip which is developed by the Bosch company. This chip has some sensing qualities. It also have the pins UI and ground like that. So it measures temperature, pressure, humidity, etc. So these are about the components. This is up to the first half of our presentation. Let me come to the second half, which is also very important, which is types of air quality monitors. So what are the types of air quality monitors we have in today's market? Actually, there are lab grade, commercial grade, and consumer monitors. These are the three types of monitors we have. Firstly, let's know about lab grade monitors. Lab grade monitors are used by the governments and scientists. Like it is the top class monitors where these are used to gather the air quality data. It has to be very accurate and very like it has to be incredible in every aspect they are working on. Or else these are so costly, like also these are so costly and for small applications like any application testing, any parameter measuring. We cannot use this for small applications. These are really upgraded softwares are inbuilt in these monitors. So these are used by official members like some governments or some scientists, officers, etc. So actually these are reserved monitors. So for only some reserved purposes, we are able to use this. So also we can't use them in a small scale station. So for the as per the requirement, the government officials can use this lab grade monitors. So second one is consumer grade monitors. Consumer grade monitors is total opposite to the lab grade monitors. These are cheaper, also portable. This can be used in anywhere, like it's suitable for home also. So if we like, we all know the example of air purifiers which are using at our homes. Like so many people are using at their houses. So what are those? These are cheaper and portable. Also, these devices are suitable for home or personal use, like in offices, schools, etc. So we can know what is the quantity of the gases we are inhaling. Also, in school premises also. Should the children like there are different age people who gather in school, the children, adults, also the teenage people, etc. So is that particular amount of gases or particular amount of the particulate matter, is it okay for the person to inhale or else is it okay for the machinery which is used in some areas? Is it okay for that machinery? Is it required or is it over or is it under the value? We can check on our own. So consumer grade monitors are easily accessible by everyone, anywhere, and everyone too. And commercial grade monitors. These are in between the lab grade and consumer grade. These are actually it combines the relativity of both affordability of consumer grades with powerful features of lab grade. So actually we already discussed lab grade are very high class. There are so many features included in it. Those are used by officials, etc. Similarly, consumer grades are very cheap, portable, can be used by everyone at everywhere. But these comes in the split of both of them, so that for some cheap applications along with the high features if you want we can use this commercial grade monitors. So these are used in buildings and projects to earn some builds to build some like to earn the building certifications. These are used there. And the commercial air quality monitors are also classified again. They are classified as outdoor air quality monitors, indoor air quality monitors, and interior air quality monitors. So what are outdoor air quality monitors? These actually gather the ambient air quality data. So what is data? As I have already said, the parameters it gathers. What is the amount of carbon monoxide, amount of carbon dioxide, amount of nitrogen like that, and what is the level of the particular matter and ozone, etc. So these are, we can see locally, these are the monitors. These are located outside and these measures the pollutants that are commonly seen in our outdoor atmospheres. Also, like I have said, the application, like these are used in research and study ambient pollution levels and in schools to make students, that is, to make sure that for students that it's safe to live in that premises, etc. Also, this can be used with indoor purposes also. Next is index monitors. Index monitors that are located inside purposes, like inside the buildings, inside the offices or industries like that. But the outdoor monitors are for outdoor purposes. So these are also related with HVAC systems of the building. Why? Because these monitors can also be used to optimize the efficiency of a building's HVAC system. We all know HVAC system is related to the inside interior purposes of a system. That is so that we can save energy by using HVAC systems. We can reduce unnecessary wear and tears of the equipment. These are the advantages while we are using index monitors for interior monitoring systems. And third one is interior monitors. These are also located within the building projects, but they fulfill different air quality monitoring uses. Like they can be used for pollutants found indoors also. Like we can have them inside the indoor purposes, also for outdoor purposes also. So interior monitors are we can say they have two applications, either indoor or outdoor. We can use them. And next is it can also measure the extra additional factors like humidity, temperature, etc. So coming to the advantages and disadvantages, this air quality monitoring is an important tool for providing air quality monitoring results for the persons who are living in their premises, or else if they are using any machinery in some industries, offices, buildings, etc. Is it okay to maintain such conditions of air or some gases or particulate matter in that area? Is it okay to? Is it sure to people who live nearby like that? So we definitely need that monitoring. Also, we need that in a periodic level also for every like for every particular hour of time we need to measure them. In some areas, it have to be measured in that areas of time, or else if we want we can measure them on a daily basis. It depends upon the application we use. Also, we can predict the climate change by using this. Also, this can be helpful to the weather reports or any research and development organizations. This can be an additional feature to them. And disadvantages. This also faces with some disadvantages, like we all know lab grade monitors are very costly. Also, they suffer from cross sensitivities, which are cross sensitivities means ambient pollutants. That is also if the air is okay in some particular time due to some external factors like atmospheric, unexpected natural calamities or any atmospheric changes, they may affect this air quality monitoring systems. Also, by different measurement, we need to be very accurate while measuring. So that accuracy is utmost important. If we measure even a small level also, that will result into a huge difference between the actual and practical values. So the measurement has to be very sensitive. Next, conclusion and future scope. So what we have studied in this project. So my task actually is what are the different types of air quality monitoring, and actually what is an air quality monitoring system? What are the components included in it? So I have shown you what is the air quality monitoring systems, what are the components included in that, and what are the types included in that. So this actually is a very useful thing in future. Actually, it's also have been used in the past generations. Now it's also actually evolving a lot. In future also, we need to research and develop this kind of projects a lot, because human health and equipment care is utmost important in any industry or at any place. So for the environment, suffer we suffer from pollution, or by like while transportations also, so many people suffer from pollution. Also, they may caused by those pollutants. They may or some people who are working in the industry, they may get affected by the smells or the fumes they inhale. That also very important. So by all of this, keeping all of this in mind, we need to have a concern on this air quality monitoring systems. We need to place it everywhere which is used. Also, we can avoid various health problems, including cancer and respiratory and cardiac diseases, only because of using of this. We can avoid that, so that we can know what are the differences we are having and what are the measures we need to take to avoid such kind of pollutants in the environment. So what is the application? As I have already said, in the industries or at houses also, so many people are using air purifiers, etc., which is also wing of this air quality monitoring system. So smoke detection, particulate matter monitoring, gas leak identification, velocity, humidity, temperature checking, pressure checkings, accurate determination like at indoor and outdoor applications. These are very useful. So references, I have used this kind of websites for images and for some definitions also. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can just ask me. Thank you. This is my contact and mail ID. If you have any questions, you can.
Are you done, Kanchana?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have few questions.
Okay.
Will be the recording saved? Today's air quality is 80%. And if I want to know today's air quality after 15 to 20 days, will it be stored?
Yes, sir, of course, because in the future requirements, if we have to know, like it may depend upon season. If we measure in May, and let's take an example, if we measure in May 2022, and if we measure in May 2023. So in 2023, if we observe a lot of change, then we can have a reference of 2021, 2022 in the same month, May, so that we can have what are the changes that we have observed from past 2 years. Is it natural temperature changes, or are there any abnormal conditions happening? People can know by those variations only. So the officers who work there will obviously have the previous values of data.
So how long of previous data will be saved?
So it depends, sir. Actually, for any project we can take, like for power generation also, we are saving every year. What is the amount of power generated in this year? What is the amount of power generated in the next year, the previous year,
No,
etc.
I want to know
Like
that
that
is
only.
the data will be saved for 1 year, 2 year, any specific time?
No, sir, it's actually we can have a memory device connected to it so that we can transfer the data to our PCs and or any memory storing
Okay.
devices. So then we can access that and use it. Actually, by
Okay.
saving that only, we may not have that it for so long. Also, it consumes a lot of memory we store in that machine itself. It may affect on the performance too. So that we can transfer that memory or the data into any accessible device which can be used for future reference.
And what is the success rate of these devices?
Sir, its annual success rate is 7%, sir. Like from the recent research, I found that for every year it is increasing to a 7% than its
Okay.
previous year. So it's good to hear. Also, it is still in development in some areas like that.
Okay. I would like to tell you that add a separate Q&A slide.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, don't just mix two slides in one. Okay.
Okay, sir. So
Add
actually,
some
I
picture.
thought you say slides are like you have used more than 15 or 20 slides. I
No,
actually
no,
I
no.
so that I have just
That is
mixed
not the
it.
issue. You can add one more. There is no
Okay,
issue.
sir.
But you have to
Thank you, sir.
add separate Q&A and thank you slide. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yeah,
So
and
that slides should be more so that it will be a disturbance like that. That's why I have did like
yeah,
that.
and
Anyway,
your
thank you
presentation
so much.
was slides was too simple. Try to make
Okay.
it attractive. Okay. Change the fonts, reduce the text, add some
Okay.
pictures, add story to your presentation for better understanding. Okay.
Okay.
I want to see improvement in next presentation. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Everything else was fine.
Okay. Actually, this presentation was totally in the theoretical way, so there is no practical scope for this. Like we can't
No,
use any
no,
code
not
or
in that.
demonstration.
Like your PPT slide, which you were sharing
Okay.
with me now and other audience, that should be an attractive because it's like you are
Okay.
presenting to a company or client. So it should
Okay.
be attractive, right?
Okay, sir. Got the point,
Yeah,
sir.
try to improve that. Okay.
Thank you for suggestion.
Yeah. Next is Binayak Das.
Shall I leave the meeting, sir?
Yes, yes, you can.
Thank you.
Binayak Das, you can start your presentation.
Yes, sir. Just a minute. So, is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible. You can start.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. I am Binayak from Web Developers Group, and today's topic for my presentation is reading HDFC Bank CSV file data and plotting a graph in Adalo. So, throughout the presentation, I'll be going through introduction. Then we will see the CSV file and a demonstration of the web page. Then we will see some challenges faced. Then we will see some conclusion references. Then I will end the presentation with Q&A. So, introduction. So basically, what is Adalo? So Adalo is basically a no-code platform. It has no code. It it does not require any code at all. We just use simple drag and drop feature to implement the website. It has intuitive design tools and extensive functionality. And Adalo empowers individual and businesses to turn their app ideas into reality efficiently and effectively. It provides us with the feature of publishing the web app into Android, iOS, or even in the web application. And whatever the changes we make in the website, it goes live instantaneously. It does not require too much time. So, uh, so our objective of this presentation is to plot the graph. So, what type of graph are available on Adalo? It gives us with three types of graphs. First one, we have bar graph. It is basically the graphical representation of data that uses rectangular bars or columns to represent the group of data. Line graph. Line graph is basically the graphical representation of data which in which points are connected through straight lines, and it is easy to understand. In the pie chart, it gives us a circular graph which is used to represent data in the form of chart pie or pizza divided into slices. So let us see the CSV file and then demonstration. So this is the HDFC CSV file which was provided by the Hackweather itself. On the column section, we have ID of the stocks, then we have date, then the open data of the stocks, high data, low data, close, and volume. There are about 1,000 plus data stored in this CSV file. So we will be importing this CSV file into the Adalo website. So let's check out the web page. So first of all, this is the stock data which I have implemented in the Adalo website. You can see the ID, date, open, high, low, close, and volume. And if you see the records, these are the records which I imported from the CSV file. I can show you how to add the database. We can just click on add database and we have to click on the add collection database. We can, let's say, create another HDFC database. We can add a property such as ID, then low data, so in the same way, we can add another properties like high data, low data, volume and stuff, which I used in the previous database. And we just have to click on this record button. And this is the, okay. Okay, looks like I have reached the maximum record count, but this is the button which helps us to import the data from the CSV file to the Adalo database. So let us see the preview of the web page. So basically, this is the two types of bar graph to implement the high data of stocks and the low data of stocks. On the left hand side, we have high data with respect to their IDs. For the ID 0, we have 1609.55 data, and for one we have 1000.95 data, and so on till 9. I have only used 10 database, 10 number of stocks, because if we take more data, it will look messy, and it does not support too much data file. It looks clustered, and it is not easy to understand. On the right hand side, in the same way, I have implemented the low data of stocks. I have low data on the y-axis and ID on the x-axis. And if we see the line graph, so this is how the line graph of high versus low data, which was asked in the task. So on the y-axis we have the high data, and on the y-axis we have low data. So with respect to, let's say, in point 1003.4 on the y-axis, we have the point 1000.7.95 on the y-axis. In the same way, all the data are implemented on the graph. If we move to the pie chart, so this is the pie chart of the volume of stocks which I have used. So red color represents the volume of the stock with the respective ID of 0, blue color with the ID of 1, and so on with green, yellow, and purple color. So the challenges which I faced during the creation of this web page was, Adalo provides us with limited customization options. We cannot enhance the chart more accurately or more efficiently. Values are fixed and cannot be changed in the graph. For example, on the y-axis, on the x-axis, the values which are given are fixed. We cannot implement our own values, or we cannot change those values. A large number of data results in clustered and chaotic representation. As I said in the presentation, I have only used 10. If I, let's say, suppose if I use 1000 values, then it will not look good and the data will be clustered. And it only supports CSV file or inbuilt database input. We cannot import another type of database into the collection. Conclusion. So overall, Adalo provides chart components which help us to understand our data in an easy to understand format. So basically, we can filter the data in various ways. So I can show you. If I click on this bar graph, you can see on the left hand side we have various filter options. We can filter the database according to the value of name, high and low, date. I mean, all the properties which we have used to implement the graph. We can sort or we can filter those values according to these properties. So I have filtered this according to the ID values from 0 to 10, 0 to 9, so which consists of only 10 values. In the same way, for the line graph, I have also used the filter option, in which I have sorted the data according to the IDs of the stocks from low to high. And in this case also, I have only used 10 values. We can also change the color of the graph, or we can, change the font size and stuff from the style section. As you can see on the left hand side, we can change the chart title. We can add chart subtitle as well. We can change the y-axis label, x-axis label, and colors. These are the only types of customization option available, and we cannot have more types of customization to enhance the chart. So yeah, I mean, Adalo only provides us with 3 types of charts, which are bar chart, line chart, and pie chart, as I've implemented. And managing the data and representation is easy and requires no coding at all. These are the references I have used: Adalo help website and ChatGPT. Yeah, and if you have any questions, you can please let me know. And for any queries, you can contact me at my email. Thank you.
Are you done, Binay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. First of all, I want to tell you separate Q&A slide and thank you slide. Both
Okay,
slides should be different. Okay.
okay.
And I have few questions like how many type of graphs can Adalo generate?
Okay, so I can show you. So as of now, on the free version, Adalo only provides us with 3 types of graph. If I, okay, just a second. So here the component, if I click on add component on the installed section, these are the only types of graph which Adalo provides us in the free version, which is bar chart, line chart, and pie chart. And I have implemented all the 3 types of graph in my presentation.
Okay. And if you buy a premium subscription, then it provides you with more, right?
Yes, it provides us with area chart, histogram, and scatter plot, I guess. Yes.
Okay. And I want to know the success rate of this CSV data. What will be the success rate?
So success rate depends on the data provided. Like I can show you if see, I have only used 10 values for the presentation, and if I do not give any limit, and if I preview, and if I click on the line chart, line graph, you can see it looks very messy because on the database I have 1,000+ values and it doesn't look good on the website. So I mean the success rate is quite low for this case, and yeah, data looks very clustered and not easily readable.
Okay. Okay. Everything else was fine. And just separate the slides and try to add a story to your presentation
Okay,
for
sir.
better understanding. Okay.
Okay.
Related to your topic. Okay.
Sure, sir. Okay.
Okay. You can stop here. And next we have is Shivanshu Saini. Please turn your camera and mic on. Your mic is off.
Is my screen visible now?
Yes, you're visible. You can start your presentation.
Yes. Good evening, sir. My task name is overview of the project synopsis, that is stock market predictive modeling. Then the content of my slides are task game, data preparation, data preprocessing, LSTM model architecture, building LSTM model, training, model evaluation, and conclusion. Task game, the aim of this project or task is to develop a machine learning solution for predictive modeling in stock market investing. What the task demand from me is to predict future stock prices based on historical data using LSTM model. Yes, LSTM model architecture. Moving on, let's explore the architecture behind our prediction model. We are introducing long short-term memory, that is LSTM model. This is specialized type of current neural network is designed to handle sequential data like stock prices. Its unique memory cells helps to capture pattern over time. So I have chosen the Apple stock data, and here you can see on the screen that this CSV file that I have downloaded contains a symbol that is Apple, date, closing price of store, high, low, open, volume, ADG close, ADG high, low, open, and ADG volume, etc. Then come out data preprocessing. This step is all about preparation of our data for modeling process. We focus on data normalization, which which involves scaling our data to a modeling common range. This ensures that all features have consistent impact on our model. So here the graph you can see on the screen is the stock price, which I have got from CSV data. You can say this is the price. On LSTM architecture. Moving on, let's explore the architecture behind our prediction model. We are introducing the long short-term memory LSTM model. This specialized type of recurrent neural network is designed to handle sequential data, and its unique memory cells help to capture patterns over time. Now, building the LSTM model. To do this, we are utilizing Keras, a powerful neural network API. And our model consists of LSTM layers followed by dense layers. LSTM understands sequential patterns while dense layers provide comprehensive analysis. Now, training data preparation. Next up, we need to prepare our training data. This involves creating sequences of historical stock price, and each sequence present past price, enabling our LSTM model to learn and predict patterns. Model compilation and training. Compiling involves defining optimizer and loss function. Training the model involves iterative learning from historical data and gradually improving its accuracy and reducing the prediction errors. And then comes the hyperparameter tuning. Think of hyperparameters such as settings that fine-tune our model performance. Parameters like learning rate and number of LSTM units significantly impact how well our model captures market dynamics. If the number of LSTM units are significantly increased, then the precision of the model is also increased. Model evaluation. Once our model is trained, we need to evaluate its performance. I have used the metrics like mean squared error and root mean squared error to measure the closeness of predicted values to actual values. Lower the value indicate higher predictive accuracy. Now making predictions. Making prediction involves feeding the sequences of historical data in a trained LSTM model. The model then generates predictive predictions for future price movements. Now, here I have from the blue lines, the blue color. One can see that this is the price which is given in CSV data, and the orange color is the price which I have used for training the data, training the model. Then the green color line is the price predicted by our model, and the accuracy is quite fine there. Now future prediction. I have used the model to train to get the stock price for the next 30 days. The blue color here shows the stock price which is given in the CSV data file. Then the orange color line shows the data predicted, stock price predicted by the model. Let's see some code. Yeah, here. So firstly, I have imported Pandas data reader. Then this is key is why this key is used. This is my API key. Then I have used the Tingo to get a Apple stock prices data. Then I have converted data to CSV file apple.csv, and then imported Pandas, and then I have then Pandas which is used to show this CSV data file in a table format. Then df.head is used to show the first 5 lines of the data. Then df.total last 5 lines of data. And then this is a stock price only. Then I imported matplotlib.pyplot has plot to draw the stock prices which is given in this CSV data. Now I am importing NumPy. I have done now I've done pre-processing. What min max scalar means is min max scalars usually there are one can see here there are different values of the stock prices to 210.24, 213.32. Then the min max scalar convert this value from in the range of 0 to 1, and as these values are needed in our LSTM model. Now we will split the dataset into train and test split. I have 0.65 here, donate 65% of the data I will be used into training. Then Other data, left data will be used in the testing part. Here one can see the training size is 816 rows and the test size is 440 rows. Now I have created data. It is an data set. There is a different function which will create a data set. Firstly, so here I have used this. I have given the trained data, where that is data only. Then timestamp. Timestamp because so much. Here it will generate. So in what LSTM model we are doing, we are getting the stock price of a particular day by on the basis of the stock price on previous days. So here timestamp. Here we have used a timestamp and it will use, and here is the for loop which will iterate, and this iteration will give us the data set. Then I have received input to sample timestamp and features as required for the LSTM model. Then it is the exchange, which is the data which is given for training. Now I have done sequence LSTM model. Then I have used this LSTM model. Then the model dot summary. Here I have used the model dot fit. Well, I am modeling this data. I am training this data on the basis of X-train and Y-train and validation data X-text and validated it on the basis of X-test. Epoch 100 means it will do this epoch 100 times. Then previously I have transformed this data into 0 to 1 form. Then I am doing transform to original form using scalar dot inverse transformation. Then RMSE value I previously told in PPT slide that I have used RMSE performance metrics to evaluate it. Then RMSE. Then I am plotting this look back. I previously told that we are predicting the price of a day on the basis of previous days. So look back equals to 100 means previous 100 days will be used to get the data of 101 day. So here the functions here. So the orange line, why I previously told the orange line denotes the which I have been given for training set, and here green lines indicate what is it predicted. Then it is prediction for the next 10 days. Here the orange line shows the stock price predicted by the model. Here is a complete graph. You are joining this, and then this is my this is my second task. In this task, I was required to generate candlestick patterns using Python for financial data analysis of the stock prices of Banks of Baroda. Content of this PPT is task, data attribute, data processing, candlestick plot customization, saving the plot in Python code, and conclusion. Task is first I have to read it financial data from Bank of Baroda CSV file. This CSV file has been provided to me. I have to create a candle plot in Python and utilize pandas for data management and plotty for visualization. The data set attributes, here one can see the data set attributes are date, open, high, close, and volume. Before diving into visualization, we need to process our data. This involves processing steps like setting date as index and new and redundant columns, and ensuring that we have clean and structured data for analysis. Because if our data is not pure, then we will not get the precise result. Then this is about candlestick plot. This visual representation allows us to analyze stock market data with each candlestick providing insights into open, high, low, close prices for specific time periods. Here, green shows bullish approach, and orange shows orange or red shows bearish approach. It is the plot which I have got after uh, after plotting candlestick plot for Banks of Baroda stock prices. Here one can see bullish approach, then bearish approach, then bearish, then bullish here, then bullish here, and times on the x-axis. Then I have to save this plot in an HTML file and facilitate further analysis and sharing. Let's see some Python code over here. So I have used pandas and matplotlib.pyplot for plotting the prices and import plotly for candlestick plot. Firstly, I have you read the files stock data Bank of Baroda.CSV head first source first five rows of the data. Then I have converted date to date time format. Then data.head. Then I have dropped the data which is unnamed 0. Sorry, I have to run all this. 1 minute. See here, I have got this is the candlestick plot which will get after plotting the candlestick plot for the Bank of Baroda's data set. Here one can get high, low, March open as like this. Then I have saved this candlestick plot as a HTML file. Here HTML file is this HTML file localhost. Then this is my third task, collecting historical market data for NSE and BSE stock.
Sorry to disturb. Are you presenting another task?
Sir, I have to present 3 tasks today.
No. You can't. Are you scheduled for 3 presentations today only?
Sir, I have not given previous presentations because some emergency happens in my house. So therefore, I am presenting 3 presentations today.
But your only one is marked for today, scheduled for today.
Sir, I have told Devanshu sir, he told you can give this presentation on 5th.
Okay, then continue.
1 minute. So the content in this slide are task overview, fetching data for NSE data preprocessing, fetching data, BSC data, and Python code and conclusion. Firstly, I have to collect historical data for NSE and BSE stocks. I have used Byfinance library for this. And utilize Python libraries for data retrieval and preprocessing. Fetching data analysis stock. I have used finance data to download historical data and specify the start and end dates. Data preprocessing and estimates what the data I have got. It is in the format data open, high, low, close, adjoint, close, and volume. Firstly, I have preprocessed data, so I have to remove the missing values and save preprocessed data to my CSV file. Then I have fetched the BSC data on the similar process in Python code. So first I have imported Yfinance and YF and Pandas as PDF. NSE stock symbol. I have predicted the price for TCS. This is the TCS stock symbol for NSE and BSE stock symbol. Then I have I have formed the functions for fetch and prepare this data. Firstly, it will download this file df. Then it will drop which is for missing which rows which have missing values. Then reference data will be saved to CSV file. Then NSE data equal to NSE data. First I will process NSE data, then complete it, and then I will process the CSV data. The data we can show here. Then BSE data this one here, and this is. Then conclusion is successfully collecting the processing of data ready for future further collection. Any questions anyone want to ask? Thank you.
I have. You are done with 2 presentations, right?
3, sir.
Okay. First of all, we will talk about Adalo one. Okay. Python, actually, Bank of Baroda data.
Sir, Adalo, I have done
No.
machine learning.
Yeah. CSV data of Bank of Baroda.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I want to know how many type of graphs can it generate?
Sir, Bank of Baroda.
Yeah.
Sir, I have generated this candle plot graph, but we
You
can
generated
solely
one
generate.
type. Yeah.
Yes, sir. We can generate bar plot also. We can supply the ranges for bar plot. Then we can have the scatter plot also, like this for stock prices. Then we can also have matchbox plot. Then other type of plots as well.
Okay. And
They are
what
many,
will be the success rate of future prediction, like in percentage?
the future prediction allows for speculative analysis of the stock prices. One can predict whether the stock prices are going to go up or down. Then it will help for investing purposes.
Yeah, it will go up or down, but I want to know the success rate. What will be the success rate?
Sir, success rate is not too much, but I have used the LSTM model is proved to be quite efficient, but no one can predict the stock prices for 100%. It will go up or down.
Yeah, I know that nobody can predict 100%, but there will be a success rate, you can say, in percentage.
Yes, sir. 80
So
to
I want to know.
85% LSTM model can predict.
Okay.
For sir, if we give very large data, then it can go up to 85%, but with very less data, it can't go up to 85%. It will
Okay.
be large data, then it will be very manual.
First of all, I want to tell you that introduce yourself. Your mic was turned off at first. So
Okay,
when you
sorry,
introduced, we couldn't hear you, and your project name wasn't hearable to us. Okay. So first look of all that, and try to add a little stories to your presentation for better understanding related to your topic or project. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. Sorry for that. I have not recognized my mic was.
Yeah. Now you can start your third presentation.
Sir, I am Shivanshu Saini from RJBT College, third year student, and I am from machine learning group. I have given 3 presentations today. Firstly, overview of the project synopsis is predictive modeling for stock prices. I have used the Apple stock price for that. Then the second task was to plot a candlestick plot for Bank of Baroda CSV file that is been provided to me. Then thirdly, I have to predict the prices for NSE and BSE stocks. I have used Y Finance for that. Sir?
Yes.
Good.
Are you done with 3 presentations?
Yes, sir.
Are you
Hello?
done with 3 presentations?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can start. I have already gave you my review. Okay.
Sir.
Just try to improve. And
Thank you, sir.
yeah. If anybody have general questions, they can ask.
can I start, sir?
Actually, our today's time is up. You have to present tomorrow. But if you have any general questions, you can ask. Do you have any questions, both of you?
Sir.
Okay, since we don't have any general questions and our today's time is up, we will continue our presentation tomorrow, remaining months. Okay. Good evening and thank you.